Hello and welcome to TheAIbumMan, and today at last still behind on my CDs and vinyl I bought recently, so I'm going to be doing the episode for December 2014. Yes, it's already February 2015 and I still haven't finished doing this for December. I know, I'm ridiculously late, but I'm just busy at the moment and it's only getting worse. I get closer to my exams in June, so videos will be patchy-ish, but there's still quite a few I have planned, and particularly over this week I'm hoping to catch up on a few reviews that I really need to do. So anyway, let's focus on the video at hand. So we'll start with the vinyl, but before we get into the vinyl, I'd like to thank Matthew Phillips, who sent me a couple of CDs in December. Thank you very much for that, and show those. California Breeds, self-titled, I think it's self-titled, is it? Yeah, self-titled album. Now this was on my top 50 of 2015. Sorry, not 2015, that would be a bit weird, no, 2014 even. And I really enjoyed this. I mean, I can't say I was anticipating that highly. I mean, I was a big black, if you don't know who these guys are, by the way, Glenn Hughes, Jason Bonham, John Bonham's son, and Andrew Watts, who I hadn't heard of before either. So yeah, and this was on the back of Black Country Communion, a super good Joe Bonamassa, and Hughes, and Bonham, and also Derek Sherinian as well. And without Bonamassa, I wasn't really sure if the Glenn Hughes project would be that good, because the Glenn Hughes dominated Black Country album, Afterglow, I thought was by far their weakest. Here, I was really impressed. I've enjoyed this album all the way through. I just think it's a strong album, and it was definitely worthy of my top 50. I think it was in the top 25 of that as well. And then the other one, The Darkness's Hotcakes, an album from 2012 that I never really got around to checking out, unfortunately. I've loved The Darkness for a long time, ever since I heard I Believe in a Thing Called Love, back when that was a big song, and also Christmas Time, the big Christmas song that everyone, certainly in the UK, knows. I'm not really sure how big they ever were in the US, but in the UK, everyone really knows The Darkness. They're a known band, and this is their comeback album for a long time. I hated their second album, loved their first, and this was fantastic. It returned to form. If you're aware of The Darkness, aware of a couple of their singles, I recommend checking this out. Though I have to say, Hot Legs, Red Light Fever, which features the lead singer and one of the guitarists from this, that is my favourite Darkness-related album. If you want a bit of sort of joke rock, something a bit comic, a bit fun, yeah, this, Hot Leg, anything, it's great. Okay, so we'll start with the vinyl, and I'll start with something really cool, which I think I actually got in November, but I'm pretty damn sure I forgot to show in that one. But this was one of my grails, to be honest. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Now those who know my channel will know this is my favourite album of all time. This has been my favourite album of all time for a bloody damn long time. And of course I have it on CD, but I've been wanting it on vinyl, not just on vinyl, but on vinyl with this cover. The infamous band Robot Rapist cover. It's a pretty brutal, pretty horrible cover, but it's just so interesting, so iconic, and it's my favourite album of all time, so I had to own a version of this. This was really cheap. I mean, if you look on eBay, this goes about 15 to 20 quid, which is more than I usually pay for a record, and I managed to get this for 8 quid. So I could not pass that up. That was a fantastic thing. And on vinyl, I've been listening to it on vinyl as well, and I possibly prefer it to the CD. I mean, the CD has never been remastered. It's never been remastered, Appetite for Destruction, which I think is a crying shame. It really should be. I think it would definitely benefit from it. It was 87 that it was made after all. So I'd say the vinyl version at the moment is superior until inevitable remaster comes our way. Come on, Axel, you know you can do it. So we'll go through my Christmas vinyl haul, some really interesting stuff with a bit of a sort of a traditional metal theme to it. So I'll start with one of my favourites from this haul, which is so underrated. Rock Goddesses, yeah, just Rock Goddess. This is absolutely stunning. I was really surprised by how amazing this was. If you like the new wave of British heavy metal, or bands like The Runaways, Girl School, or just even bands like Saxon, Iron Maiden, that classic sound, this group just does it. This is honestly one of the best new wave British heavy metal albums I've heard in a long, long time. This is from the time these guys toured with Iron Maiden, Angel Witch, Y&T, with a lot of the bands from that era. Unfortunately, they seem to have been forgotten by history. I hadn't heard of them until I got this album for Christmas. and that's a crying shame. I mean, really, I highly recommend this album. Check it out, I'm sure it's on YouTube. The songs I'd recommend, Heartache is particularly good, My Angel as well, those are sort of the two singles, and also The Love Lingers Still as well. All of these, great tracks, and they have actually reformed the original lineup. They're playing Hard Rock Hell, a festival in Wales, so if you like these, then you can actually check them out, which is always cool. I definitely want to see them though. Yeah, they need to tour, not Hard Rock Hell. I don't know, it doesn't seem too amazing so far. Next, Ted Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever. As much as I hate Ted Nugent as a person, because I couldn't really disagree with his views more, to be quite honest. And as much as I hate the statements he makes, he's a damn good guitarist and makes some pretty darn good tunes. I mean, Cat Scratch Fever is my favourite Ted Nugent album. It's definitely his best. Songs like, well, Cat Scratch Fever, for some reason it's up here, Live It Up, I enjoy, Fist Fighting Son of a Gun's good. The Wet Wang Dang Sweet Poontang, that song sucks. It's the second track, I don't know why, it's really shit. But the rest of it's a good album. The one thing I would say is, I'm pretty sure it's him who sings on it. I'm pretty damn sure. Yeah, it is. And his voice isn't that strong, that's the thing. He could have done with maybe getting an outside vocalist, and then it could have been like an absolute classic. But it's still good, it's still worth listening to. Samson's Head On. Damn, you don't see Samson vinyl often enough. And this is an album with good old Bruce, of course, being Bruce Dickinson. And a weird cover with a sort of a gimp suit on it, not quite sure why, but this album's great. I mean, Paul Samson is a freaking legend. Bruce Dickinson on vocals. What more could you want? This is new album with Bruce. It's freaking cool. Okay, next, another classic new album band, Fist. I mean, what a name that is, Fist, with Turn the Hell On. Again, this really is just another fantastic new album. Really strong, just very consistent all the way through. I particularly like The Watcher and You'll Never Get Me Up in one of those. Really good songs, really nice guitar playing especially. Fist, good band. Earth Shaker by Y&T. Y&T, an interesting one. I always sort of thought of them, I don't know why, as more of like a melodic rock band, and I only know this one album. I don't know, that's just what I always associated them with for some inexplicable reason, but it turns out listening to them, they're not. They're pretty much in that sort of style of traditional metal, which is cool, and this is a good album. I definitely enjoyed it. This is a band I really like, actually. Crocus. The second best band to come out of Switzerland, with the best, of course, being Celtic Frost. I mean, it's Celtic Frost. But yeah, this is Metal Rendezvous. This is probably their best album, probably one of the most famous albums. Again, just like the others say, this is the thing about this whole stack. Just really good, solid, consistent albums. I wouldn't say any of them are like some of the greatest albums ever, but just end-to-end good albums, and worth a listen without a doubt. And this one in particular, I really have been enjoying. Okay, so onto the CDs, and there are a lot of them. Okay, first, this one is so cool. So I went to see Rival Sons, who are a fantastic band, Great Western Valkyrie, my second favourite album of 2014. And supporting them was a band, Blues Pills. Now, I knew of them, I'd heard their debut album, and unfortunately I didn't realise they were supporting until I got there and managed to catch one song, which was pretty annoying. But after the show, I did manage to meet them, buy their debut album, and get it signed, which was really cool. So if you don't know the band, they're basically a 70s rock revival band, female-fronted, and fantastic. This debut is very promising. I know there's a lot of these type of bands out at the moment, and there's a lot of people who just don't really care for the scene. It's just like, oh, it's just rehashing stuff. And I agree, there's a lot of bands who are doing that. Bands like Rival Sons and bands like Blue Pills aren't. Blues Pills definitely have their own spin. I'd say maybe slightly more of a psych tinge to the Doors, Zeppelin influenced rock. Songs High Class Woman, Black Smoke, No Hope Left for Me, just strong rock. So it was really cool. I found that the label Earache, yeah, it was Earache. And they had a sale on their website. So I had to take advantage of it. It was a Black Friday sale. I'm not a big Black Friday fan usually, but this sale was way too good to resist. So I got a stack of killer metal from this. So firstly, we have Evil's Infected Nations. Evil finally coming back because their lead guitarist left, unfortunately, so they never got to tour on their fantastic 2013 album Skull, which is my favourite thrash album of that year, and is an album that I just absolutely love. Evil, to me, they're one of the best modern thrash bands out there. I think they take a really interesting approach to it. They just add a bit more extra to their songs instead of just going for the same thrash formula, the same heavy chugging guitar riffs and all of that. And definitely this is shown on this album. This track has like a 10-minute thrash song. You don't get 10-minute thrash songs very often, if at all, because thrash is usually short, fast, to the point. You know, definitely inspired by punk, of course. So I really like what they do on Infected Nations and can't wait for their return. I hope they're going to make a new album as well. I got a couple of albums from the band White Wizard, The Devil's Cut and Over the Top. White Wizard are very much, I suppose you could say, part of the new wave of traditional heavy metal, which is basically a sort of revival of that classic NWOBHM, that classic 70s, early 80s traditional metal sound. And these guys do a good job of it. They're not an exceptional bands, they're not as good as the bands they look up to, and unfortunately they have disbanded because they certainly showed a lot of potential, and they're certainly a good, fun listen. The stuff can maybe get a bit samey after a while, to be honest. One I was so pleased to pick up, Cult of Luna's Eternal Kingdom. I absolutely adore Cult of Luna. They're one of my favourite post-metal bands. I think I only prefer Isis to them, maybe, I don't know, probably on par with Neurosis, I'd say. And Cult of Luna, yeah, this is, I don't know what of their albums this is, but previously, before this, I only owned their debut, their self-titled album. I think it was the debut or their second album, which I didn't think was that good, but here's an album where they're really into that post-metal. It's not as good as my favourite album of theirs, Vertical, but really enjoyable all the way through, and it's just like 150, and it's a killer album. I saw At the Gates in December, so of course I couldn't resist adding to my At the Gates collection, getting live at Wacken. This is just a really good set list, not a million miles away from the set list I saw them live, aside from, of course, stuff from their newer album, At War with Reality, was present then. But yeah, if you like Slaughter the Soul, in particular, this has most of that album on here, live, really good quality, very strong performances. Municipal Waste, massive, aggressive, it was alright. I'm not a big Municipal Waste fan, it was alright. I don't have much to say on it. Another one that was, it's okay. Bonded by Blood, mediocre, just run-of-the-mill thrash, like nothing very special. Clearly inspired by Exodus, not as good as Exodus. And, I listened to it once, I don't know if I'd listen to it again, honestly. And then one that was really cool, I managed to get the box set special edition version of Annihilator's self-titled album, Annihilator. Now, I don't actually know much about Annihilator before this. I knew they were Canadian, knew they were thrash, and classic Metallica in Hell. Of course I've heard that album. But aside from that, I hadn't really. I wasn't sure how their newest stuff was really rated, but I just decided to pick this up. It was pretty damn cheap, and it was a cool box set. Like, I can't resist things like that. And I love this album. I think this is absolutely fantastic. I actually think about that. I did listen to their 2013 album, which I thought was pretty, I didn't like it that much. But this, I really enjoyed. Very strong thrash. Okay, so some of my Christmas CDs. I've reviewed this, but, I mean, it's Seedy Seeds, Rack or Bust. How could I not own Rack or Bust? I'm going to see them on, in July, 4th of July, in fact. Can't wait, going down to London for that even. That will be amazing. Okay, this was a really interesting one. I got tickets to go and see them as well. Cest with Le Voyage de l'Homme. Now, these guys were supporting Opeth, and unfortunately I was late, so I only got to see the last song they played, which was really unfortunate, because I've been getting into Cest a lot. I mean, I reviewed Shelter last year. It's very positive about that album, gave it a lot of praise. I know some people are mixed on the direction, but this, I think all our Cest fans can agree, is a classic. While I maybe slightly prefer Acai de Lune, this is definitely my second favourite Cest album. Still has that black metal element in there, some fast blast beats even, and even on the odd occasion a bit of growling, but really that shouldn't be enough to put you off. This is very much more like Solstifier, if you know bands like that, and Anathema, in that sort of almost post-rock inspired, big on atmosphere, big crescendos type thing, and I think our Cest are one of the best at doing it with a metal edge, and of course now they've moved away from that, but this still stands as a classic in my opinion, and I think the opinions of many. Porcupine Tree's Fear of a Blank Planet. I'm actually going to see Steven Wilson soon as well, so which should be good. But yeah, I mean, it was criminal I didn't own this album. I have In Absentia, and that's it actually. That's the only Porcupine Tree album I have. So yeah, I obviously needed to pick up Fear of a Blank Planet because I freaking love that, and I also have heard Lightbulb Sun quite extensively and think that's great. This, definitely my favourite Porcupine Tree album so far. This is the only one that possibly after a couple of listens more, this may get into my top 100. I'm absolutely loving this. Anesthetize is a freaking 18-minute masterpiece. The title track, I love, just end to end. I mean, it's only like 5 songs, but it's just genius. Modern prog, absolute classic, all the way through. Next we have, and speaking of Solstifier before, their album Cold. So Solstifier are an Icelandic sort of atmospheric metal band. I absolutely love these guys, talked about them a lot. I mean, Otter was my favourite album of 2014, and it's just an album I love so much. And yeah, Otter is, well, Cold is actually mostly in English, this album, so if you're put off by the fact that Solstifier are, well, an Icelandic band who sing in Icelandic, you may well like this album. Tracks like Goddess of the Ages being definitely the best. Pale Rider as well is fantastic, and 78 Days in the Desert, and the title track Cold, which they often play live. Yeah, Goddess of the Ages, if you want to know what Solstifier are, and you want something in English, that's an amazing epic song of theirs. The 10-minute Goddess of the Ages really is a song of the ages. Next, we have, what's this one called? Yeah, Metrodom Field by Giant Squid. Giant Squid are interesting bands. They're kind of sludgy at times, and maybe slightly prog, and also some pop sensibilities, in the same way that Torch, I suppose, kind of have that pop and sludge sensibility. Giant Squid maybe aren't too dissimilar to that band. And I really liked their 2014 release, that was Minonians, that was fairly high in my top 50. And yeah, I enjoyed Metrodom Field as well. This is a pretty cheap album and very good. An absolute drop-dead classic here. Agaloc's The Mantle. What can I really say about this? This is just an absolute masterpiece. It's pretty much a perfect album. I love this. This will be in my top 100 albums soon. I just need to listen to it a little bit more just to evaluate exactly how much I love it. But it's just brilliant. It's beyond words, stunning. If you want an atmospheric black metal album, this is the atmospheric black metal album. You don't need any others in your collection, because this eclipses every other one. And another classic, and certainly something black metal related, Celtic Frost to Megatherion. Now, I still do prefer Monotheist as favourite Celtic Frost albums. God, this is good. You put this on a cold, dark, wintry day and just blast out songs like The Usurper, Circle of the Tyrants, and you're just in heaven with these heavy, ominous, doomy, slow, gothic riffs, but also at times faster, more black metal, furious songs. Really good bands. I mean, I'm sure you know this album very well, most people will. And something very, very different. We have Nick Drake's Pink Moon. Now, I've been really getting into Nick Drake recently. Well, mainly I've been really getting into Pink Moon recently. This album's definitely my favourite Nick Drake album. I mean, I've only heard 5 Leaves Left and this, and he's only got 3, so there's only 1 left I need to hear. But so far, and I think this will maintain itself as my favourite. And my favourite song is Things Behind the Sun. That's an amazing track. So this is just acoustic folk, really. The odd bit of piano, and it's pretty much just Nick Drake and his guitar singing some nice little folk songs. And they're just really, really good. Very beautiful album. Something I find that's quite atmospheric in a way, even though it's very minimalist. Its instrumentation, I just find it very effective, and it definitely emotionally resonates with me. Shame he made so few albums, honestly. Okay, next, a band we have had before, but you can never have too much. Cult of Luna, again, with Vertical. The 2013 release, my favourite of their albums, which has my favourite of their tracks, called Vicarious Redemption, which is like a 15-minute, brutal, epic, post-metal classic, all the way through. If you like post-metal, it's amazing. Something else from 2014, Slash's World on Fire. Talked about this a bit. I think it's a little too long, 17 tracks. What the hell would Slash and Mars County thinking of that? They definitely could have cut this album down a bit, 70 minutes. It starts to bog down, starts to weigh itself down a bit, which is a shame and to the detriment of it. But when it's good, which is most of the songs are really strong on it, and they're just fantastic. Better than Apocalyptic Love, better than his debut. This is the best solo album so far. If only he could have cut maybe like 4 tracks off it, then I would be praising the living hell out of it. 2014 again, Mastodon's Once More Around the Sun. This was in my top 5. This was absolutely wonderful. If you like Mastodon, sludgy yet commercial, far better than The Hunter, a million times better than The Hunter, which was pretty disappointing. My second favourite Mastodon album, only Crack the Sky, Eclipse It for me. I honestly prefer this to Blood Mountain. Blood Mountain's a damn good album. Lastly, but certainly not least, Diamond Head's Lightning to the Nations in a deluxe version as well. This is one of the classic new wave British heavy metal albums. Now, of course, a lot of people know these via Metallica, because Metallica, their cover of Am I Evil on this, became, pretty damn known. The other classic song on here is Helpless as well. They're probably the 2 most known, and I would say best songs. So if you like NWOBHM and you haven't had this or don't have this in your collection, then what are you doing, really, with your NWOBHM collection? This is, they're one of the best bands of the genre, and this is one of the defining albums of the genre. I would say this and Angel Witches self-titled, and Iron Maiden self-titled as well, are probably my 3 favourites of this type of music. It's so good. Okay, so this has been my CDs and vinyl I bought relatively recently, not that recently though, thinking about it, for December 2014. Hope you enjoyed. This has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.